Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Beyond History series in Kerbal Space Program 1.1.3, and in this episode we begin with the MapSat 1A, which is conducting a maneuver here. Oh, sorry, MapSat 1. And this is to change our plane so that we can better match that of Callisto. So here we go, we have reoriented. Still trying to get into orbit around Callisto, but it's a tough one. Okay, well, here we go. We just want the relative inclination to get down to close to 0 or 0. And after that, we have a Venus window, and I've already built some missions. We've got 2 duplicate Venus port 1s. Basically, it's a Mars port 1, but more suited to Venus. It has a certain amount of supply. Actually, it's empty of supplies right now, so that we can use the fuel to capture around. If it was full of supplies, we'd have to carry more fuel to do a fueled capture. I didn't want to do an aerobrake at Venus. It should be good, but I haven't really tested aerobraking around Venus. And in any case, having spare room for extra fuel would be a good thing. The station module is physically bigger than the one that we sent to Mars, so that's good too. We've got 2 of them, so we could join them up together if it turns out that that's possible. So, yep, those are the Venus launch plans, and that's it, just the spaceport around Venus. And then we turn to Uranus Ambassador, the UDMH depot arriving at Mars, Uranus 2, and then the rest of the Mars missions. Okay, and let's just make sure that's off as we... Okay, well, that's the minimum inclination there. Okay, so now we are flat with respect to Callisto, and we have to figure out how to meet up with Callisto. Okay, so there we meet up with Callisto, but obviously we're not going to be able to make orbit around Callisto like that. But can we get Callisto's help on a... Let's say we fly by Callisto. Will that enable us to bring our orbit down? This one brings us down, but it's a little bit wonky. Let's try and flatten that out, maybe. Of course, it's bringing us down when we're passing with a periapsis of 3 kilometers, so we're not going to be that lucky. So, perhaps another minor inclination adjustment ahead of time, right here. And we can do that right now. There's nothing else pending in the meanwhile. Okay, so another 10 meters per second there. Let's just go ahead and do that first. Well, that's 0.01. Hopefully that means we don't have much of a tilted approach to Callisto now. Callisto's actually managing this better than I thought it would. So let's say we do this burn. How much would it take to make orbit around Callisto? Actually, we want to be polar around Callisto. I think we can do it. I think this is good. But we want to be polar around Callisto, so let's... We shouldn't have flattened out our trajectory, actually. Taking advantage of infinite ignitions here because I don't have RCS. There we go. Well, that's good enough. Let's see what we can do about making this a polar satellite instead of an equatorial one, because equatorial is not good for the whole scanning thing. And right now it's looking like we have enough fuel to at least make orbit, which is the lesson here. Don't underestimate Callisto. That is my lesson for today. It doesn't show me my ascending or descending node anywhere, though. That's weird. I mean, of course, my inclination right now is very small, so maybe that's why. It's also only giving me the ability to make a maneuver on my second orbit. Okay, well, if you have no inclination with the target, then probably the best place to do maneuver is over there, but I would really like to plot one. There's no option in MechJeb to like mess up your inclination with your target. That's not an option. Well, it's created a node in 30 days. Can I drag it around? That'll be enough. Look at that. But of course, that probably entails crashing into the planet. I'd rather do this earlier rather than later. So over here, now it's showing me a node. I just want to be polar. Is that too much to ask? Sometimes it's hard to tell whether you're going a little bit too far past polar or not. Maybe that's about right. Depends on Callisto's own rotation after all. Okay, and then from there we make orbit, and that costs 862. So we've got enough. It doesn't look like this pass, which is very close to Callisto, is going to clip Callisto. Though it might be prudent to step back just a little bit. How much does that hurt our ability to make orbit? Not by much, I don't think. Okay, so 5 days. Let's do this maneuver quickly, and then we'll set up our final approach to Callisto and making orbit around it. Okay, well, we've got what we've got. It's a little bit higher, and now let me plot for making orbit around it. So that's basically where we will be at once we reach Callisto. Okay, well, I brought the Venus port onto the launch pad, and I turned the pump on so that we could minimize our relative inclination to the ecliptic. But turning the pump on meant that the food, water, and oxygen got topped off, which means our delta V situation now is somewhat different than before. Maybe if it doesn't shake itself to pieces here, we can use that to dump. Oh well, we'll dump right before launch, maybe. Not that I feel great about time warping right now, but according to Transfer Window Planner, we needed more than 3,000 meters per second to manually capture into a tight orbit around Venus. We don't want just a random high orbit, because then it's tough to rendezvous with it for other missions. Not that, you know, I mean, Venus is going to be a peculiar sort of situation anyway. Maybe a high orbit isn't the worst thing. There's no Gilly to go to, obviously. In this case, it's just Venus. I'm working on adding recycling units to the game that are better than the TAC life support ones, or at least more accurate, and basing it off of the International Space Station ones. I have the data for that from a paper, so should be able to get better recycling units, which will help a lot. Okay, that should be good enough. Basically, we're tossing 35 tons to Venus, and the dry mass is 11 tons. That gives it its 3,400 meters per second, and yeah, the rest is as you see it, and it's a Saturn V, or Fiji 551. So I'm going to just let the launch script handle it. The Saturn core is at the top, so it's usable. So without further ado, run Fiji 551. Okay, ignition. And launch. Alright, getting ready for center engine shutdown. Everything is looking good. We are just past 4Gs here. And the center engine has shut down. Everything is looking nominal. Okay, the ignition of the second stage. 5 J2s seem good. I do think they're configured as J2Ss, just to be clear. They are J2Ss, specific impulse 436 instead of 421 or 424 for the regular J2. and the regular J2 has a thrust of 1033. These have 100 kilonewtons more. Well, it's pretty tight, but we managed to clear the fairings. Okay, we have a loss of performance on one engine. It is a loss of thrust, but not a loss of ISP. So that should be fine. It shouldn't hurt our ability to make orbit. And we should have plenty of margin, so no worries there. As the rocket starts to flatten out, actually turn down a bit. It's managing vertical speed now. Okay, ignition of the S4B, and that is good. We only need about 500 to 600 for orbit, which leaves us with about 4,800 to transfer, and we shouldn't need more than 4,200 of that. And shut down. Okay, wow, 4,987. I could have probably made this heavier, but let's not worry about that now. It's always nice to have extra margin. Well, MechJeb is being unusually unhelpful. I click ASAP, but it gives a departure in a year, which is not ASAP. See, 1 year and 183 days. I've got a lowest. It seems to be giving me the lowest when I click ASAP, which is not right, but I can just click here. Anytime now is about what I want, but you don't seem to... Oh, whatever. I'll just do it myself. Okay, well, I've got a plot that only costs 3,682, it looks like. I deliberately didn't go for a polar orbit because it would be really tough to break orbit in that case, but we can't get it quite equatorial either, so that's annoying. And, well, the game is thinking about all this, but let's see how much it's going to cost to make orbit around it, given this approach. So, a minimum high orbit is like 1,700. And then if we really get a closer orbit, it could be 3,900 even. So that's not great. What we have packed right now is about 3,400, which will get us something around there. So 4,000 kilometers at the top. Anyway, let's do the first bit first, and then we'll see what happens after that. Alright, here we go. Ignition. Okay, and shut down. Off. Okay, I made part of the correction, but I think at this point we'll just ditch the S4B stage and continue without it. It's a little bit of a shame that we didn't use 1,200 meters per second, but we'll make do. At least it seems like we have enough delta V in here to make orbit around Venus, even if it's not a tight orbit. Well, unfortunately, this is taking more delta V than I would have liked, but let's just get it done. Maybe it would have been better to do this particular correction with the S4B after all. Okay, that should be a good enough periapsis. 175 kilometers. And then we can use the fuel to make orbit. We'll plot that again once we get there. We should just have a temporary maneuver there and add that alarm. And thankfully that's well after all of our Mars activities. But let's launch another one of these, and yeah, maybe they can combine with each other to make a larger station ahead of, well, maybe we'll crew the station. It's gonna be tough though. All supplies will have to come from Earth or somewhere else. We can't get in situ resource utilization from Venus, I don't think. And, I'll have a little cloud city thing going to suck up atmosphere, which is carbon dioxide, and convert it how? I mean, we could, yeah, anyway. The point is, not the easiest situation around Venus, but let's do what we can. Alright, so next one. Alright, here we are. We're just launching Fiji 551s left and right these days. And this time I remembered to lock the food, water, and oxygen tanks so we don't have to worry about that, and everything seems fine. I didn't even have to turn that off really. Nope, I want KOS, and hopefully it'll do as good a job on this one as it did on the previous one. So let me throttle down here. Otherwise I might accidentally take an extra ignition out of the J2 and run Fiji 551. Okay, ignition and launch. Okay, all is well. Okay, a minute and a half into flight, we are operating nominally. Okay, shutdown of the center engine is good. And separation and ignition. Okay, looks like we're good on the second stage. I wonder how happy stage recovery would be if I just put parachutes on the first stage. I don't want to do that, that's rather cheaty, but still. It's an interesting question. Okay, fairing separation. And just clear. Okay, ignition of the S4B stage. Okay, and approaching orbit here. That's it. About the same delta V left up. Well, actually it depends on how the J2 twitches. We actually might have more this time. Don't know how that works exactly, but okay. Well, I think I'm gonna have to manually plot for Venus again unless MechJeb has decided to be nicer this time. Let's find out. Let's see if MechJeb will actually give us a transfer plot ASAP, or whether it's going to just give us the one in a few years. Well, 1 year and a bit. Yeah, this one right there, that's 4,700. We have that. But do I want that? I don't know. Maybe we can have it plot that one. Use that as a basis, but it seems expensive anyway. I mean, I feel like this has to be considered a better approach for cheaper, with the node basically in the same place. But apparently MechJeb did not agree with me on this. It's got some problems plotting for Venus apparently. Okay, well we've got this now, so let us execute, and hopefully we don't need too big a correction after the fact. All depends on how well I do it. Okay, fuel is settled. Ignition. And off we go. Okay, preparing for shutdown. Oh, there it goes, drifting away from me. Shut down. Okay, 2.4 off, but probably our correction's gonna cost more. Let's find out. Okay, well the cost of the correction is going to be about the same as with the previous launch, somewhat unsurprisingly. And we're gonna do it this time with the J2 stage, so let's make sure the fuel is settled. Right now it's that little icon is lying to us, it's not stable. And alright, quickly. Okay, let's see what happened. Hopefully it's not like completely wrong because I was 3 seconds off or something. Well, it's not exactly right either. Well, at this point we should do it with the payload. Hopefully it's not too much. Okay. I think I had accidentally put an extra decoupler here. Looks like we might actually need the Gemini lander engines. It's going a bit low. I guess we might want to follow that node after all. Ah, it looks like just a prograde thing, and RCS seems to be enough. Well, that's not quite the same as what we plotted, and I have no idea how it relates to the orbit that the other one is going to come in at. But we've got that, and if we check how much delta V is going to cost to make orbit, 1,300 minimum, and tight is Well, we can get it pretty low if we want to. But not low. Not on a 3-digit kilometer apoapsis. But yep, anyway, let's add an alarm once we get there. This one will get there first. And we have our alarm. Let's double check. Yep, both of them are there. They gotta come in with a gap of about a day. Alright, let's go back to MapSat 1, approaching Callisto. Okay, we are in not Uranus, that's next. Callisto Sphere of Influence with MapSat 1. And we have our maneuver there. I think everything looks good. Our inclination... Where is our inclination? 74 degrees though. I don't know if this is a good time to change it. Let's see. Maneuver. It's not a bad time, it looks like. Relative to Callisto, we're not going that fast. 2,000 meters per second. That's Jupiter. Where's Callisto? Callisto is there. Okay. Fuel seems settled. And up goes our inclination. 87 degrees should be fine. And why don't we get a little bit closer to... Let's see, radial negative, right? Closer to Callisto. That periapsis is rather high. Actually, let's check. 241 kilometers is minimum, so maybe it's not that high. Let's see. Though we could lift that up easily after the fact. We did want to maximize Callisto's influence on us. So that's what we'll do. Okay, 75 kilometers there. And let's get to periapsis and burn for orbit. And taking a look at how well that will work out. Well, this stage should get us to an apoapsis that's within the... well, close to within the limit. Anyway, we will get to a good orbit for scanning. That is the important thing. As far as any other science we have here, I don't think there is any. I think this is strictly a MapSat. No frills. There's Callisto. I wonder if we've done analyzed telemetry. Let's see. Nope, we have not. Just above Callisto's poles, and we'll have some more opportunity to get science, it looks like, because analyzed telemetry is biome dependent. Well, let's get surface info up so we can see the biomes. Oh, there's crater... oh, lowlands. Lowlands even. Don't click range safety. Okay, Midlands. Cratered Midlands we got. Okay, there we go. Ignition. Cratered Highlands now. Let's just check. What was the maximum orbit? 1,500 kilometers. Okay, we have captured around Callisto. Okay, that's the end of that stage, and we're still short of 1,500, so off it goes, and ignition. Let's get down to a lower orbit, but not overdo it. We still need to boost the other side up. 1,000 seems good. Okay, well, 985 then. Okay, up to apoapsis so that we can boost up the periapsis and make this a good scanning orbit. Okay, a 4-hour orbit seems okay. Let's perform orbital survey. It's taking the data. Actually, the way I have it, I don't really do the ScanSat thing. It's instantaneous. So, yeah. It's done. Okay, I don't need the overlay right now. There are resources, but I think we need to... well, let's see the overlay after all. The cutoff is very low. Is it with a 60% cutoff, so there's a reasonable concentration of lumina there, and we can go through the other stuff and find what patches are where, but for now we can't really exploit them. We will get to that, but we have not started drilling for ore and that sort of thing. It will be ore. and we will be able to convert that to real fuels. But for now, it is here, and we know where the stuff is. Let's try and take care of this Uranus ambassador maneuver, and then we'll be set for the Mars things in the next episode. Well, the first thing to do is establish where this probe is, and we're 2 years and 282 days in, and zooming out. Oh, the game's paused. Okay, there we go. We are doing a adjustment before approaching Saturn, and this adjustment is going to put us onto a Uranus encounter after approaching Saturn. So right now our trajectory is totally off of Uranus. You can see we're passing well behind it, and this correction will make sure that we're passing through Uranus SOI, and the big difference is accomplished by the fact that we're adjusting our approach at Saturn from this high orbit to a much closer pass. But that's in 3 days though, so let's actually hold off on that turn, and we will wait the 3 days. Okay, well, we don't strictly need the main engines, the Astros engines, but we might as well use them. Okay, oh, no, that's too close. It was better before, but let's see what's happening at Uranus. That'll tell us how well we've done. Okay, we have a Uranus encounter. But in order to fulfill the contract, we do have a contract for a Uranus flyby. We need to be within 20,000 kilometers. That's definitely not 20,000 kilometers. First of all, ooh, well, it's very, very sensitive here at before Saturn, because Saturn influences the orbit so much. So we'll have to do another mid-course adjustment here, but we have 3,000 meters per second, so it shouldn't be too bad. And we are going to maneuver node editor this. And it will take because it's not reading it right, because it's reading the cost if we... I don't understand what it's giving us there. It's fine, forget it. Don't ignore that number, it's wrong. It's because of Saturn's influence that it doesn't understand what's going on. Saturn has befuddled it. That will be close enough. Oh, well, we want it a little bit higher than that. We don't seem to have any moons around Uranus, unfortunately. I guess we should take a look at what happens after we pass by Uranus. Maybe we can move on to Neptune, maybe we can't. This says what it says for the maneuver, and that says 14.3 meters per second. This here we shall ignore for the time being. Let's see, set as target. Well, it's a 6.6 degree inclination it gives us after it. Okay, well, that's better on the inclination side. Closest approach distance is not good though. I think to fulfill the contract, we're going to have to pass by too close to Uranus in order to actually manage the contract. Manage the Neptune flyby. We will manage the contract, but we won't manage the Neptune flyby because it's too close to Uranus. That's what I mean. So something else is going to have to encounter Uranus, and something else is going to have to encounter Neptune. This will encounter Uranus, and hopefully the Uranus 2 ambassador can be sent to Neptune instead, because otherwise this is not going to work out very well. Either that, or we do a burn right at periapsis here to correct everything. Let's see. Because once we're at periapsis here, it'll fulfill the contract. But this burn had better be prograde retrograde only, because anything else will be worse to do here. I'm not quite trusting what it's telling me about the whole Neptune situation, so maybe we'll just pass on fine-tuning it for now until we get closer. Let's get rid of this. We'll find out when the time comes. Okay, so we have our Uranus encounter lined up. It'll take five more years, but that will be in time for the contract, which is 4,238 days. Okay, let me add the SOI change. We want to see how it passes by Saturn, which will happen in 347 days. So we'll join with it. We'll meet up with it at Saturn, and then the next stop will be that maneuver, and then on to Uranus. Okay. Alright, so I think I've done enough in this episode, and next time we'll focus on Mars things, except for one Uranus mission in the midst of that. On that note, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.